Deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on, come on.
Because you always used to have when I've been given like.
This is jarring, man. This is mad jarring. Are we live now? Can you hear me? I don't know what's going on with the mic. Again, it's been if you lot can hear me, that just sums up that it's been a terrible day. We're good now. We're good. That sums up the day in the theme. As I was saying, people, and rambling about, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. In some cases, good night. Happy birthday, mum, because she wouldn't like if I didn't say happy birthday live and whatnot. So, yeah, that's one. Obviously, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And, of course, in some cases, good night, depending on where you lot are tuned in from and the time of you watching this. New month, new blessings and whatnot. Now, as I was saying, that's on brand that the mic was acting, because it's a terrible day for me, man. Like, how terrible could it be? We know Emile Smith Rowe was going to leave the football club, but it weren't meant to be like this, people. Couldn't tell you the last time he started. Couldn't tell you the last time he scored. You know, our son, football develops very quickly and in those cases. And it's not about what you've done, it's about what you're doing. But where Ramsdale, who's still at the club's concerned, where Kieran Tierney's been concerned, where Granit Xhaka has been concerned, where Pepe and Aubameyang and all of those guys, Smith Rowe's, you know, in the same fate. Now, for Smith Rowe, it appears that he wanted to leave the football club. First and foremost, I wish him all the best and thank you for your many years of service at this football club, and best of luck on your endeavors. Hope he stays fit. You know, again, I know I shouldn't say this, but hopefully we batter Fulham and he scores against us. Our number 10, man. This ain't the way it's supposed to go. Omar, on my mum's behalf, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Fulham announced him as the Croydon De Bruyne at its peak. He looks vexed in them pictures as well. So, yeah, we're going to go over Emile Smith Rowe. Apparently, Edu has spoken. We're still linked with Oshimen. We've been linked with João Pedro, actually, in which I'm kind of happy because where content's concerned, do I think we're going to get João Pedro from Brighton? No, but at least it's a new name. And to be honest with you, this summer, we ain't really been linked with strikers like that. There was the Sesko stuff. Gyökeres has come back around. Ivan Toney's been dead since January, but we have been linked with him. Oshimen was still linked. You know, Ollie Watkins is probably dead in the water. Aston Villa are doing great stuff. They're not going to let any of their players go, especially with what they're recruiting. Surely, if we're going to buy someone from Brighton, it's got to be Ivan Ferguson, because we've been linked with him before. The Athletic, respectfully, and the more credible journalists have spoken and kind of said that, you know, he's one Arsenal. Like, could you argue that he could be available for a discount because he's not really, you know, fit and firing on all cylinders? But saying that, he signed a new contract. We all know how difficult it is to buy players from Brighton. Chelsea know that with Caicedo and Cucurella. Benjamin White's been great for us, but when we bought him, they got 50 million off the back of one Premier League season, which obviously I'm happy with Benjamin White, but that just shows you they're very difficult businessmen. And the better Brighton get, the more it's going to be, you know, the better Brighton have gotten, the more money they've been brought in, and the money in the Premier League, they're under less pressure to sell players and whatnot. But it's sad, man. Smith Rowe, it needed to happen, man. What have you said here? Let me know your thoughts, people, and everything we discuss in a bit. Don't forget to smash the like button. What has this said? How can we be in a deal we are trying to make in the first place? Arsenal have two options. I'm not sure on the first bit, admittedly, my guy. Sign the super winger Nico or the venomous striker in Victor Gyökeres. Any less City cruises. I agree and disagree. I think, I'm not happy to run people close. Again, 20 years from now, maybe some Arsenal fans, because I must admit, the new generation of Arsenal fans are a bit sneaky and just happy to be second. But, you never know. In 20 years, nobody cares that we finished second in the last 2 years. There's nothing that etches it to history. And City are a juggernaut, Pep Guardiola, all of their players, great stuff. No one can really defeat them. But for me personally, I think in the last 2 years, before I can look over at City and see what they're doing and how good they are, we need to arrest things internally. The last 2 years, we have not won a league title, has been down to us. Definitely last year, where from start to finish, generally we was all right. And I know you can't win them all, but we was okay. The December period, in hindsight, really and truly is what bit us on the bum. The Aston Villa game is the one that, if we was making a documentary, is the one that is probably going to be there. And I would say that because, you look at the Emirates game, obviously they done what they did in the second half, but that should have been put to bed in the first half. I would say last season, again, sorry for triggering PTSD, but for me, the 2 games against Villa, the one against Newcastle, I would say the most frustrating performance on a whole has to be West Ham at the Emirates, where it felt like we had a million chances, inability to put the ball in the back of the net. And obviously a striker would have helped us with that, really and truly. Had we have had anything from 3 to 6 points or more on the board, what would we be talking about? What would we be celebrating? Now, we can't talk hypotheticals. Facts are we didn't. Gyökeres, I like him, man. I'm like 90% convinced on him. I think, I don't think he's perfect like anyone, but I think he's shown that he can adapt to a top 5 league, as you've seen it Sporting. I think his general play is good. Evidently, he's able to put the ball in the back of the net, and we need a striker. I don't think there's a forward that wholeheartedly convinces. I'm not saying that to not sign a player. There's going to be risk with everyone. Nico Williams, I would love that, but 1 minute it's PSG, then it's Chelsea, then Arsenal are on it, then Barcelona, the front runners. Reports in the last 48 hours are saying he's going to stay at Bilbao for a year. So we have to do, we're going to have to do battle with Barcelona in that regards. But I do agree generally in that I don't think it's an or. I think first option, you sign another inside forward and a striker. The second option is, for me, what you're saying, where you either get that super winger or you get that top striker. And again, as much as I'm saying it, in that we know the striker market isn't flushed with options, and every striker, even the ones, even like if we made a list of a top 5 kind of strikers that we'd go for, obviously they don't 100% convince anyone, so there's a bit of a risk. But I do think where Arsenal's concerned, that's not an excuse. If you don't see something that you think wholeheartedly improves us, then don't do it. But, you've got all the resources, all the scouts, do what you need to do. And half the players we've been linked with, they have to start somewhere. Respectfully to Gyökeres, because he's obviously been at Coventry, technically at Brighton, doing his thing at Sporting. But 18 months ago, none of us were sitting here on YouTube and saying, sign Gyökeres. And that's not for us. A team in Sporting took a chance and they stand to make a healthy profit on him. So there are things that you can do, man. DG, pick up the members. DG, it's got to be Gyökeres. William ain't going anywhere, innit? It depends on the fee, though, because, again, reports a few weeks ago were saying Sporting are not budging. Reports this week are saying, while he's got a release clause of 100-odd million, which equates to about £84 million, they're willing to do business. But what do Arsenal deem as doing business? What do they deem as affordable? Is it 60, 70 million euros? How much of that, has to be offset by letting players go? Do we go for a Gyökeres before we've sorted out the futures of an Eddie Nketiah, of a Reece Nelson, of a Aaron Ramsdale, where you look at Aaron Ramsdale alone might be the best solution, because it doesn't seem like, and again, anything could change, but nobody's forthcoming with offers that Arsenal deem acceptable. You hear as high as 50 million and as low as 30 million. So I'm not sure. It'd probably be a loan there. But you never know, man. You really never know. It seems like we're going to get the Merino deal done. Calafiori's there. I think personally, we'll focus a bit more on outgoings when the Merino thing's happening. Look to dot I's and cross T's where Nelson and Eddie are concerned. Then maybe go for a Gyökeres. And in between that, we probably bring in one more keeper as a minimum, because we probably need a third choice keeper. Of course, you've got a number of academy boys that could kind of indirectly do that. You'd imagine Carl Hein, the minute we land back in London, which we probably have, pardon me, bearing in mind David Raya is actually back in training, and you'd imagine Ramsdale arrives soon. He needs to go on loan, whether it's the Championship, League One, Eredivisie, whatever it is. You're not going to play the football that you're going to play. In terms of playing for Arsenal, it is pre-season, but that's the most, we've really seen him. He's played more for his country than Arsenal Football Club. Like Alvarez at City, he's on the bench and it's possible for a loan, but I'm sure City won't. Again, Ambrose, like you said, City are going to think twice about selling us players. It seems like he's aggressively being linked with Atletico Madrid today, if I'm completely honest with you. And if I'm honest with you, I'm not on getting Alvarez on loan. It's like them kind of players for me. Buy them properly or forget about it. Like it's like Odegaard now. It's very different, and we did get Odegaard on loan, and we were able to eventually sign him. But what's the point in getting players that, you know, young players that we're developing that are not going to be here on a long-term basis? Or, you know, let's just assume we signed Alvarez and he got 20 league goals and we won the Premier League. No one cares, but he's going to go back to City and probably be sold for a premium. The only loans I'm kind of down for is, you know, you look at someone like who we're not going to probably get with Merino now and owing to the options, but Fabio Ruiz, I can understand if Arsenal, you know, do make a deal in the sense of get him on loan, maybe with a buy option. So I'm not really for that. The profile I think Arsenal is going for is bench players that they can get on loan for the forward positions. I think we might sign a winger. I don't think we're doing anything other than that, if I'm completely honest with you, man. Who am I? I'm sitting here on YouTube. I can't sit here and say what Arsenal are doing because in truth, I don't. But I do have a bit of confidence that we'll bring in at least one attacker, because surely that's the only logical thing you could look to do. Like you have to bring in someone. The striker, it seemed like if we look at someone like Sesko, whether he's the answer or not, the thing I took from that is essentially if there is a market opportunity, the club will look to do it. And I'm personally just waiting to see when we're linked with Vlahovic again, personally, because that's the only striker we have not yet been linked with. But again, we all know Juventus have got a new manager in Motta. That's not really going to happen, is it? So yeah, man, Smith Rowe's left. We've been linked with a couple of players. Keep your talking points coming, people. We'll get into all of that. And one love for you lot that have watched my Smith Rowe video in advance. Yeah, we all are. DG, we should go all in for Isaac. I don't think he'll go for more than 70 million. Unlike risky move for Gyökeres, who we aren't sure if he fits this league. We do that, we'll start winning trophies. John, there's a number 14 shirt ready for Isaac when Eddie goes. But it's easier said than done, man. You'd need to overpay, and we overpaid for Declan Rice. No one cares. I think we need to overpay. I think we need to sell certain players and get some money in. You probably need a tiny bit of a cash injection from the Cronkies, and you'd probably need you'd have to make an offer not only to Isaac, because you're gonna have to give him handsome wages, and you're gonna have to factor that in, but you're gonna have to give Newcastle something they can't refuse. And what can't they refuse? I think you're looking at anything from, as you said, 70 all the way to 100 or 20 million, and then you'd probably need Isaac to do his part and drag his heels and make clear that he wants to leave. And again, football is nobody nothing. It's a small career, but it seems like he's adored by the Newcastle faithful. So he'd have to burn bridges with them. He'd have to burn bridges with Eddie Howe. So it'd be lovely to see you, man. Big up DG. Arteta wanted to keep Smith Rowe. We can still run agendas against Lee. Big up Lee, man. But big up you like that. I've watched that video and part of the live stream as well, man. Check that out after this. Hey, DG, do you think Havertz scores 20 goals as a striker for Arsenal this season? In my heart, no. But I hope so. I don't even know how many goals he got off the top of my head. But the second half of the season, Kai Havertz stood up to be counted. Really and truly, I think Kai Havertz's kind of fortunes at Arsenal changed when we played Newcastle away, and actually West Ham when we went out in the League Cup. But I think for everybody, even his biggest of haters, it really changed in the defeat in the FA Cup against Liverpool, and obviously from that to the end of the season. But if I'm harsh and I look at it without emotion, I hope Kai Havertz, stays up front doing what he's doing, because right now he's the first name on the team sheet where the striker position is concerned. But at the same time, I don't know. Like Kai Havertz, he had a very good goal scoring season, and he has got the capacity to score goals. But that's got to be his best Premier League return in the year, and maybe even in all comps. Can you really bet on that? Because he's in his mid-20s now. He's not really a goal scorer like that. He is not really born to score goals. I can't say. Bukayo Saka is the only one out of all of our attackers. I'll genuinely be shocked if you don't deliver certified numbers, really and truly. Saka is like our Mo Salah, and I'm not saying this to make excuses, but sometimes I think Saka is due not a bad season, but a bad season, because he's so good. He's getting better and better. I can't wholeheartedly say Kai Havertz, will score 20 league goals. What I think he'll have is the opportunity to score some based on the games he's playing and the chances we create. But yeah, Bukayo Saka is the only one I can bet on. Love Martinelli. The last 2 seasons have been very conflicting. Trossard had a great year and he's a good player, but I don't know I think you're not a starter like that under Mikel Arteta, if that makes sense. It took a lot for him to start. Who else have you got? Gabriel Jesus. You got to stay fit before we talk about anything else, and I'm in trouble. I said I'll back him to get 15 league goals, but yeah, man, would sacrifice getting a winger for Isaac. 100%. If you spent the bag on Isaac, and maybe even if you say, you know what, Reece, I know you want to stay, but you want to leave, but you're gonna just have to be a body here, then cool. And surely we bring an attacker in, because again, if we just look at bodies, forget what these players need to do. Selfishly, We need a big squad. We're competing on all comps. Smith Rowe didn't really play off the left in the minutes he got, but he is a wide option per se. Nelson is one. And then we band it under attackers like Nketiah. If 3 goals, surely you bring one in. Of course, you've got young Ethan, who we want to probably see play as a 10 or an 8. I personally think there's minutes for him to play out wide. And I remember Arsene Wenger used to do that a lot. He'd start Ramsey out wide, start Wilshere out wide and whatnot, people. So, yeah, but we need to give Ethan time to develop because we're trying to go for a league title. He needs to get minutes, but it's a lot to bet on. So surely an attacker comes in. Again, I don't know, man. There are no superstars coming. Rotation options and bench warmers only. No one to bench Havertz, so no striker. No other midfielder after Merino. And maybe winger backup. Anyone expecting more? I think you're bang on, man. I think, you know what? Calafori's in. Merino, I like it. I don't think it's a sexy signing. I don't think it's a superstar signing. I don't think it's one in the vein of Declan Rice where we sit there and go, oh, we're in the big leagues. But I think he's a decent option. And I think he'll end up being a consistent first team up just because we know you have to wrap Partey in cotton wool. I haven't seen anything like that with Merino. I can't pronounce his name. You know, he's obviously adaptable, can play as an 8 or a 6, extremely experienced. You know, there's a lot to like about him. For me, it'd be the durability. He played over 40 times last year. When have we said that about Thomas Partey? Maybe the first year we fought for a league title. And what? Partey's been here since 2020. Might as well, or whenever. So it's been 4 or 5 years. But hey, I'm not sure. But I'm happy with Merino, man. I don't think it moves the needle, but we need to address midfield to have, assuming Partey can stay fit, Mr. Merino, Jorginho, Declan Rice. I think we can maneuver, but I don't think they're superstars, man. I don't necessarily agree that you need superstars to win the Premier League, but if everybody goes back to the Champions League, it's easier said than done. They're very hard to acquire, but we do kind of need a bit of that Real Madrid stuff where Real Madrid have players where you don't necessarily have to be the best team for 90 minutes. You just need an opportunity. Jesus will be useless this year again. I'll bet you any amount. I've already bet my YouTube channel. If he doesn't score 15 league goals, I'll cancel my YouTube channel, which I'll say it's AI. But yeah, do you think Martinelli will gun up this season? I hope so, man. He needs to. He needs to. Martinelli needs to find greater consistency in his performances now, man, and just get his head up. We do need a striker immediately. Arsenal need a wrestler striker up front like Yokara, Sesko, Oshimen, a striker who can fend off physical defenders and make something happen. I think Jesus isn't the biggest, but he can do that. I think Havertz can do that. I don't think that's a strength of Trossard's, but if you commit to playing a false 9, he could do that. I just think we need a natural goal scorer. Someone that, again, long gone are the days where Arsenal are concerned in world football where someone's just going to stand in the box. It's almost like playing with 10 other players. You kind of need to be like Morata, really and truly, in a sense of you're not a consistent goal scorer, but you're intelligent at all the other aspects. You need to be able to affect the game without scoring. But I think if we just had a cold-hearted killer in front of goal, man, like we got 91 goals, even if that striker, and of course I want more, just got 9 for us, turn some defeats into draws, some draws into victories, where would we be? What would we be celebrating come the end of last season? Is where it is. I'm disappointed Zubimendi don't want to leave because he would have been a maestro for us. Would have been amazing, man. But I think he's going to go to Barcelona one day or wherever Xabi Alonso goes. I don't know why. I just think he's going to follow him, man. Whether that's Bayern, whether that's Real Madrid, wherever that is. How much minutes do you think Ethan should play this season? And do you think his best position is an 8 or a 10? You know, I'm Ethan on wary of the boy as a player. I think at the moment, I think he'd be very at home as a 10. I think with a bit of experience, and I've seen a lot of improvements in pre-season with him. I think he could be an 8. I think that's him. So if he was asking me right now, I think put him in the 10. But then again, even the 10 in Mikel Arteta's system, it's not just about getting the ball on the half turn and doing all those things. You have to be one of the best defensive players. You know, Odegaard leads the press, give or take, with Havertz. So there's a lot of things that, you know, Ethan needs to improve. Natural things, really, you know. Can you take 2 touches? Can you take 1 touch if you don't, if you need to? You know, and I think he's improving, but I think we just have to allow him. I want him to get some minutes without real pressure. And minutes, I don't know. Again, I want to see a breakthrough season, especially with some players leaving. But it all depends, man, because if we take last season, there's not going to be too many opportunities for significant minutes. Of course, in the cups, you can do your thing. Premier League, I hope to see him get a 10 minutes here, 20 there. If we need to rotate an occasional start, I do think he can break through. And also, big up Miles Lewis-Skelly. I think his is a bit different because he's learning to play that inverted role. Again, I love Miles. I think he'll travel and whatnot, but under the premise of fighting for trophies, I think you're more likely to see when fit Tomiyasu, obviously Timber, Calafiori, and such as the depth. I'm definitely missing out another option to play in those roles. In midfield, of course, Moreno's arriving. You've still got Declan Rice. I don't agree with it, but you've still got Fabio Vieira. You've got the option of playing Kai Havertz. You've got Jorginho. These are more options that are probably going to be thrown in before them. But I would like to see those two young players in particular exposed to 1-2 minutes. Can't put faith in Jesus, Zinchenko, or Havertz. That's like trusting politicians. Havertz does a little thing, but he ain't it. I think that's a bit harsh. I just don't think we can afford to be romantic. I think on occasion we're a bit too romantic as a football club in that sometimes you just need cold-hearted killers that do the job, really. I think you can have Havertz, but I do still think you need another striker, and you can have Havertz in the squad, and if he holds on to his place, it's yours. I think we need to learn from Manchester City, where Zinchenko and Jesus are concerned, and utilise them as squad players rather than living or dying by them. It would have been beautiful to see Gabriel Jesus playing through the middle and scoring those goals. It hasn't happened. Zinchenko, he did very well initially, but the system's moved now, really. The pros are not outweighed by the cons, essentially, especially if we, sort out our midfield. Him creating stuff is redundant. Kai Havertz, again, I hope he can score his goals, but if he doesn't, then we're going to live or die by these things. For me, Nico Williams or Neto are the best options for us. I'm not sold on Oshimen. I don't think we're going to get Nico Williams. I'm on having Pedro Neto. I think the only concern with him is evidently injuries. Oshimen, I think he's a bit overrated by fans that don't watch him, but I'm keen on him if I'm honest with you. Thing is, we need more than 20 goals from a striker to make the difference. I hope Kai proves me wrong. If we can get a striker that can get 15, 20 goals, Kai Havertz keeps doing what he's doing, Trossard keeps doing what he's doing, you get Martinelli and Jesus backfiring, Saka, the man there, does what he needs to do, then I think we're laughing, really. And obviously with set pieces, you're going to see a couple of defenders chip in, even Declan Rice. We're never going to mention Declan Rice with goal scoring, but he's just come off the back of his best goal scoring season. So I think we need the best of both worlds. And because there has been a time, like when we had Aubameyang, and if Aubameyang weren't putting the ball in the back of the net, pardon my language, we were fucked. Like no one else was really going to do that. Alexis the same, really. So I think with us getting better, of course, we ain't got the most depth. We need to improve our depth. But I think generally when you look at our squad, disregarding injuries and all of that kind of stuff, when you look at our squad, it's not that we're perfect, but it's not like we need 7, 8 players. We just need 1, 2 cute, clever things. I think everyone would agree. You get another wide man, whether that's Neto or Nico Williams or whatever have you. You find whatever striker, whether that's Oshimen, Jokovic, Vlahovic, whatever you lot have, Isaac, whatever. You slap them there, you pattern up midfield, and then it's about buffering the squad. We're lit, really and truly. Appreciate the super chat, my dude. Is the Oshimen dream real? Big up, DG. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think for it to become tangible, I think Napoli need to drop the price, and it's a developing story. It seems like Chelsea are the front runners. There's rumours that they're seeing what they can do around Lukaku going to Napoli, and obviously Oshimen going to Chelsea, which seems to have been his first choice. But the week before, PSG were on it, and it's a big investment really on Oshimen. We know a few years ago, like that summer we tried to get that summer we bought Gabriel Jesus. Did Charles Watts not come out and say Oshimen's agents were at the Emirates? At London Coley. So he's clearly liked, a bit like Lautaro Martinez was once upon a time like, but it's going to take an important fee. And he's going to be on big wages as well. So, and again, I don't necessarily care about the big fee and wages. Just like in any job, if I own a restaurant and I want the best chefs, you're going to have to pay them handsomely. It's like the existing players. You need to pay Saka, Saliba, all of the Declan Rice, Odegaard. You need to pay them decent money. We're not Manchester City. It's not the same. But you look at the wages they're on, like it comes with the business. Oshimen, best signing for me. All our forwards need to step up and get at least 20 GA next season. I think it's unrealistic to expect everybody to get that. But yeah, Neto is great, but last 3 seasons, his stats are bad compared to the likes of Eze and that. I mean, I do think Pedro Neto would score more goals at Arsenal. I do like him. I think he can play off the left and the right. And obviously, Arteta likes him. We've been linked with him before via the Athletic. But Neto or Eze? Okay, if we genuinely could sign Eze or Neto, then I'm on the Eze train just because he's English, he's homegrown. Nothing against Neto because Neto is crazy on the transition. He's a good player and whatnot, but I just think Eze is a player that I can't explain it, but it's a bit like Odegaard. They're different, but for me, there's certain players that I always feel like they can make something happen. He's good on the transition. Obviously, there's versatility there. You'd expect him to probably play in that left 8 for Arsenal or off that left-hand side, but he can play in the 8, play on the left. There's no reason as to why he couldn't perform off the right if, God forbid, something happened to Saka. And obviously, he's of a good age, but are Arsenal going to spend that 60 million? Not without talking about outgoings, man. It'd be lovely, though. Jude Bellingham is the Ronaldo of Scott McTominay's. Bit harsh. Jude Bellingham's a quality player, man. That's harsh. Eze brings an amazing transitional balance there. Like King said, word for word. Yeah, exactly. But again, I try not to get my hopes up with them kind of players because it just comes down to the money. If you're not going to put the money down, a bit like what we did for Declan Rice, then it's almost a forget about it thing, really. Like, it comes down to money. Like, if you're Crystal Palace, bearing in mind you just lost Elise, different position, but you know, it looks like Gurhey, who's got 2 years left on his deal and shown no willingness to sign a new deal, he's going to go Newcastle. Do you really? I think they were prepared to lose anything from 1 to 2 of those 3 players. Did they really want to lose him again? Did they really want to lose that? Bearing in mind they just got a new manager in, and the Crystal Palace manager, based on what it felt like he joined in January, I could be wrong, but on the small sample size, completely different beyond the obvious to Roy Hodgson, got them playing attractive football. It actually was linked with the Bayern job. So I think it just comes down to money. If you want Eze, you got to put the money on the table and keep it moving. You can't really play about. Like, if you're Crystal Palace, you don't want to, well, Smith Rowe's not a thing anymore, but you don't want to hear swapping Smith Rowe and Eddie and Nelson and, you know, doing this and that. You don't want bartering. Of course, you have to negotiate, but it's putting the bread down, essentially. And Eze picks up a lot of knocks himself as well, but it would be a great signing. Eze would be a great signing, impact player, great drive, well experienced, no money for him, get him on loan. Yeah, getting him on loan is dream chasing. I can't say his name, Andrea, the African winger from Brighton. He's decent. Fair enough. Plus, Mikel said this window isn't a Declan Rice signing kind of window. And it doesn't have to be, as much as, you know, listen, I know I'm quite logical, but we're football fans. We want to see best players. We want to get hyped up. You don't have to do that. You just have to make amazing signings. And, you know, of course, we've brought in Declan Rice and, you know, and whatnot. But a lot of the players that are key parts of our team, they weren't amazing signings at the point that they entered. You know, Saliba was obviously generational talent. But from when Saliba walked into where he's been in the last 2 years, there's almost a grey area there. Saka, academy talent, was playing left back for a hot sec. You know, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher condemned the signings of Aaron Ramsdale and Benjamin White. And to be fair, Arsenal fans weren't unanimously sold on them. Gabriel, I think everyone's seen he's a good player. He's just ironed out the raw patches, but he wasn't amazing at the time of signing for the club. Declan Rice, he signed him for 100 odd million quid. Some people didn't even want Odegaard on a permanent basis. You know, that first 6 months Odegaard was at the club, it was tough, innit? People wanted Buendia and these guys. So he kind of gets thrown into that. There was a time people saying Martinelli needs to leave under Mikel Arteta. Of course, I think Trossard was a good player and is a good player, but you could throw Trossard as an underwhelmer off the basis of, you know, no disrespect to Trossard because he's Premier League proven and we're definitely happy we got him, but we was linked with Mudryk and all the hype fair around him and the way it happened. So just sign the right players for me, really. But that being said, of course, you know, we'd love to see, you know, the Sarnes, and someone said Musiala and Nico Williams and all of these kind of guys, man. True, this window is about putting the rest of the puzzle pieces together like an architect, putting the finishing touches. Spot on, smart deals are there to be had. We have to be smart in certain areas and go big on one position striker, but are we going to go big on the forward? I guess we'll have to see, man. And I don't want to say it's early days in the transfer market, but there's a long way to go, man. There's a long way to go. DG question, who'd you get for Odegaard backup? Because one seems to talk about their position if Martin gets injured, but I would have loved Doué from Rennes, but that's a myth. I mean, internally at the club, I would say Ethan, but off the ball, I don't know if Ethan's ready to do all of that kind of stuff. You have got Fabio Vieira. We ain't got Smith Rowe no more. Do you know what? The funniest thing is, and I know people are going to pull their, you know, get mad over this. God forbid, but I think if Odegaard got injured and we was about to start a Premier League game, I genuinely believe Kai Havertz is going to play in the 10 and Jesus will play up front. I only say Kai Havertz. I don't think Havertz has any of the qualities that Odegaard has on the ball, but off the ball, in terms of the pressing, that's probably the one that Arteta probably says is more alike in that regards. Pardon me, it feels like I'm missing out another option. Wirtz would be great, but again, big money here in Bayern Munich and Real Madrid are sniffing around him for next season. I can't lie, I wanted Buendia over Odegaard. Shame on you, man. We will not go big for the 1,000th time. Shameful. I don't think you have to go big. Just sign the right players. But that being said, it would be nice if we went out and got Nico Williams. We went out and got Musiala or any of these kind of players to make the club go wow. But then again, if we did that and it went left, the same people praising it would have said, you know, we've overspent, we've done this, we've done that. So if we can sign a player for 10 million quid or 100 million quid, and crucially they bring something serious to the table and keep this upward trajectory going, I'm cool with that, really and truly. Havertz can be the backup striker because he still misses too many good chances, or paired with a clinical striker. However, if Arsenal is serious about winning the EPL champions, a clinical striker now, I wouldn't be against it. I mean, who wouldn't want Musiala, as I've just said? But the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. We need a player like Alexis, and that's Nico, and we win everything. I don't think one player is going to make us win everything, my guy, but it'd be a step in the right direction, man. It would be a very good step in the right direction, if I'm honest. So, yeah, man, if it was up to me, I'll bring in Pedro Neto in because it don't seem like the Nico Williams thing can happen. Personally, you lot are selling me on Eze. I'd try and move heaven and earth to see what could happen with the Eze deal. But again, you're talking big money, and how much have we spent already? I'm not a finance man, and I don't really care for the finances. But what, 27 million on David Raya, 30, 40 odd million quid on Calafiori. So take of that where you will. Obviously, you've got 27 million in a fixed fee with add-ons rising to like 34, 35 for Smith Rowe. You've got some money in the bank from Amari Hutchinson going to Ipswich. You know, Mika Beref has departed the club. You've got about 8-9 million for Tavares. You've got a loan fee, however that much is for Lokonga. I'm probably missing out another one. Obviously, you know, in terms of the wage budget resources, you know, seeing Cedric El Nene, players like that go out the door, you have saved some sort of figures in that. But yeah, probably need a bit more outgoings or a cash injection, really. Neto is going Spurs, I swear. Hopefully not, but says everything about him. Julian Alvarez up front with Gabby and Saka, strike force for the next 5 years. I would like Alvarez, man. I really would like Alvarez, but I don't think City are going to sell us players. And it's very different, but Cole Palmer, man, Mikel Arteta, how do we miss that? Because we had a decent relationship with City. How did we miss that? You, of all people, should have known about Cole Palmer there. But it is what it is. We need level changes, and yet again, we ain't getting them. I include every sign in the last 4 years. We will never move the needle in one go. F's me off. Bit harsh to, you know, Declan Rice and whatnot. We don't need a striker. We just need another forward that can impact the game and contribute another 10 goals. I hear that, but unless the deal is very favorable, or you're getting a young, kind of impressionable player, what's the point bringing in attackers that ain't better than what we have significantly? Like, again, I know Martinelli ain't had the best of seasons, but he's a quality player. People might not have been convinced or still not convinced by Kai Havertz. You see what he brings. Jesus needs to stay fit. I think everyone, even his harshest critics, will say he's a decent squad player. Saka is Saka. We all know Eddie and Nelson need to cut 10 goals. I hear it. It makes sense, but I think we need a strike. I genuinely think we need a forward, man. And there you are, right, in the circle. They told us we're going to be buying level. And if anything, only in the last 2 years have I seen at Arsenal any sort of ambition to be spoken about with the Real Madrids and the Bayerns, or have some sort of element of trying to be competent in those regards, people. That's something that hasn't been said at the Emirates, man. Let's be honest, the early days at the Emirates were dire, just about paying off the stadium and keeping it moving in that regard. You lot are on this sharing the goals around thing, but we need a bagsman. I just want a bagsman because you know what? The December period, I personally think we get a striker there. Some defeats are turned into draws. Some draws are turned into 3 points, 3 to 6 points based on where we finished last season. Where would we be? We could have very well had a striker, a bagsman, and they could have been missing chances. But when push comes to shove, we need a cold-hearted killer. Like, we know we're going to score goals this season coming. We got 91 last year, 80 odd, but we can't answer the question of who. When push comes to shove, who's going to get us goals at our worst? I do like the mentality. We've seen many different protagonists and heroes and super subs and whatnot. But we do need that. Like, why can't we have the best of both worlds? Share the goals around, but have a killer, man. So let's buy Oshimen one time. I don't think we're convinced on him. Why? I think that I don't know, but maybe it's nothing to do with Oshimen. Maybe we just don't think there's a deal to be done, or maybe we're going to focus on outgoings, get the Merino one over the line, maybe tie up some loose ends in other areas and take it from there. Isaac or Alvarez? I'd rather Isaac, really. It just feels like he's fit for Arsenal. Him and Odegaard together, carrying on with their Sociedad days. In fact, you could throw Merino in that. I think Isaac would be the one we love, but sometimes, you know, where you look at Gamares or Kudus or Isaac, and it's hindsight's a wonderful thing because no one was screaming necessarily, or the fans weren't screaming to sign these players. It feels like even to a degree, Elise from Reading, it feels like every now and again there's some players that you could still get them if you want to put down the money, but it feels like you've got to get them before they establish themselves in the Premier League, or you're talking about some ridiculous fees. Now, Arsenal have flexed their money. We spent 65 million on Kai Havertz. We committed a madness for Pepe. We've signed Declan Rice. We've shown, you know, again, it's not the most eye-catching of figures, but, you know, Gabriel Jesus wasn't cheap. But it just feels like we're not going to go and put down 100 million on like 3-4 players. We're not going to do what City do, spending 100 million on Grealish and no one can remember the last time he played. So it feels like we need to get these guys before they get there. But at the same time, people say that, and then people say they don't want unknown entities. DG, every striker mentioned, there's an excuse of why we can't buy them. So the question is, why do you still want a striker too? Huh? I don't understand that, because I've clearly been saying we need a proven goal scorer. I think, I don't know, man. I think you need to rewind the stream for me to answer. I think I've been waffling for about 36 odd minutes about why I need a forward, really. And if I do have concerns, I can have concerns. I'm a fan. If the club signed Oshimen and got no concerns, make it happen. I had concerns about Kai Havertz, and I still have concerns about Kai Havertz. I was more trusting in Mikel Arteta. When we signed Timber, Rice, and Raya, I kind of understood it. Kai Havertz, it was more, okay, manager, you're saying do that, I'm going to trust you. I think anybody that watches Arsenal knows that if you look through our squad, there's not many evident areas our starting 11 can improve. How good would it look like with Saka and a proven goal scorer for leading the line? In fact, if we was to jump, not that we can, 2-3 years into this, who could you say is going to be part of that lineup on a consistent basis for a team that's won a Prem or a champ? Saka is the only one. You could make a case of upgrading on the left-hand side and through the middle. So, coach, I'm a bit disappointed in that comment there. I don't really get that, but it's clear we need a forward. It's clear we need to address centre midfield. You could do with another wideman. You could do with another striker. And then it's probably about bolstering the squad. Because last season, we had anything from, dare I say, 11 to 14 players that generally in Arteta's heart, I feel was trusted. And even if he trusts everyone because they are part of the squad, of course, injuries and these things are a factor. But, managers are good liars. They trust everyone. They use everyone. But when push comes to shove, all you got to do is look at every player. How many games were you available for? How many minutes did you play? Everybody's trusted at different tiers. So, yeah, man. Gyökeres might even be 60, 70. If they're convinced on him, get it done. I thought Jesus was getting 15. We've got the receipts. Don't go anywhere. It's AI. It was AI. Jesus, don't let me down, man. They want blood, man. I'm already dying because of Smith Rowe. If it's not She Knows Arsenal, it's some of you in the comments, or it's Lee. My enemies are onto me, man. This pure profit stuff is ruining the chances for the new youths coming through the ranks because the club need the pure profit. I think if you're Ethan and potentially Miles, you're right. I do think we could do a lot better in where you look at once you get to that stage of your young career where you're a Lino Sosa, you're a Waters, you're a Koza Dewberry. We need to find a way of bridging that gap either into Arsenal's first team or finding good loan spells and being proactive in renewing your contract so that we can make decent money. I think generally, I think there is going to be less chances generally for Lenders. I don't think Mikel Arteta is really, I think he likes the academy, but I don't think he's on that. And to a degree, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I definitely think Arteta could have given more debuts and more of an opportunity, but you can't ask a man to fight City, win trophies, play a bunch of kids, have a consistency in your lineup, but also rotate. You can't have it all, really. And the better we get, the less opportunities, if I'm honest. Liverpool shared the goals around and won things. Would love a striker, but doesn't look like there's a lot on the market. That is true, but they had significantly more experienced players at the time, essentially. Firmino did score a couple of vital goals, but wasn't a great goal scorer. Salah was a borderline top-class, world-class player within that period. They definitely had Mane there as well. So it's not exactly the same. You could bet on Mane getting goals. You could bet on Salah getting goals. Martinelli, I know you got the capacity. I can't bet on it. Trossard's a bit delicate because I think you can, but I don't know how many games you're going to start. Jesus, you need to stay fit. Kai, you're going to play a lot of games. Whether you're going to put the ball in the back of that's another one. Saka, I'll genuinely be disappointed and shocked if he doesn't. If I'm honest, would you be happy with Sesko and Kuda signings next summer? Next summer, I guess. But what about this year, bro, man? I never said anything about Tony's ego, but if don't seem like the club's convinced, I'm a better fan of Solanke than I was previously. I don't think we're going for that. I'm on bringing Gyökeres. I said that, and if he is over, all of them are going to be overpriced. I don't know what striker. I don't know. If you're asking me. Boy, the striker I want, you can't get me Isaac. You can't get me a young Ivan Ferguson. You can't get me Oshimen. You can't get me Vlahovic. You can't. I'm not convinced on Jimenez or Feyenoord. Who else is there? Ollie Watkins. Wasn't convinced when we were first linked with him many years ago. Big fan of his. You're not leaving Villa for something that's not ridiculous. So yeah, what do we think will happen with Ramsdale? Probably goes on loan. You never know, but like, who is he really linked with? And obviously he could be an upgrade, but he's been linked with Wolves. Wolves are not giving us 40, 50 million. Nottingham Forest are not doing that. Southampton, the latest club to be linked with him. They've just got promoted. And with the greatest of respect to Southampton, I guess the first priority for them is ensuring that they stay in the league next season. And that's not an assurance. Are they really going to spend 30, 40, 50 million on a goalkeeper, pay him 100 grand a week or whatever he's on at Arsenal? Probably not. So it's either a loan or, I know it's sinister, but if we can't, and I don't think Arsenal won't, I think we've got two options, man. If I was Arteta, and again, God forgive me, managers are good liars. I'd sit there and tell Ramsdale, it's so bad mind from me, people, but I'd sit there and tell Ramsdale, you know what, if I'm Arteta, Rye's looking shaky, I think you can take his spot. You know what, sit down at the club, you're going to play games, and just keep it moving in that regards. Or you just sit there and say to Ramsdale, I hear you want to leave and whatnot, but at the end of the day, you got a job to do. As much as we sympathize with you and what you want to do, we need to think about the club first. So none of the offers are making sense. Maybe talk to your agent and see if they can drum something up. But other than that, forget it, if I'm honest. I just think they're not going for a striker this or Jan window. Newcastle will not do business with us. If you want to go and get them players there, bearing in mind what Newcastle are trying to build, whether it's Bruno Gomes or Isaac, you need to pay top dollar. If you're not talking serious money, it's a myth, man. And with you, DJ, I back Gabriel Jesus. The guy came back too early from a knee injury to help us to win the Premier League. Unfortunately, did not happen. Disrespect from our fans is a disgrace. Arteta manipulation tactics. Every manager's a liar, man. You've got to be a good liar as a manager, Again, it's a fallacy you have to tell the truth 100%. But you also have to be able to lie. Like, if I'm honest with you, you have to, man. All managers are liars, man. They're all liars. So are you not having unrealistic expectations because you already know we aren't getting Isaac or Watkins? So why are we expecting a bad boy striker? And only can speak for myself. I don't know if we're listening, my guy, or you're trying to catch me out. But I've not said I've said I want a bad boy striker. I haven't said we're definitely getting one. And I've also said, like, just because I don't know who to get, bro, scouts are paid. Coaches are paid. You lot have known for time. To be honest with you, I actually think Kai Havertz's form in the second part of the season maybe made us change our thoughts. If we assume Kai did not get the goals he got in the second half of last season, I think they would have got a striker. Go and find one. Because they got to be somewhere. Some people are paid to watch games. Go and find one. Like, I want a striker. I didn't want to say I expect a forward. I didn't say I expect a bad boy striker. Are we listening or are we talking, man? DG whispering those sweet nothings. You've got to be. Every football club, every manager, they're all liars. They all lie. Players are liars, man. We've been burnt a couple of times with some players saying, "Oh, I'm going to stay here forever. I'm going to definitely stay." Look at Sol Campbell. What happened? I'm going to stay at Spurs. It's fair to say we all saw the rest, man. If we bring Gyökeres, would still want another wide player. Only striker I want is Isaac or Watkins. If we could get Ferguson for like 50, 60, I'd take him. I only want Ferguson because I think he could be a rotationary option similar to Sesko. And again, you can't take journalism for gospel, but just off the basis of the Athletic, all of these Romano, all of these credible journalists, at some point in time, they've said Arsenal are big fans. So if you're big fans of him, you know exactly his strengths, his weaknesses, how good he is right now, and what he can bring into the team in future and whatnot. Ramsdale will be a late summer exit. We'll probably get him gone sometime in the closing week of the window. Well, that means we need to get a move on in terms of having a second and third choice goalie, if I'm completely honest with you, because if it's left that late for Ramsdale, you're not going to be able to adjust to your new team, for a longer period of time. And also, we might be left short-changed. God forbid, if Ramsdale leaves tomorrow, we're in trouble in goal, David Raya is going to be playing for the majority of things, but who's second choice and who's third choice? Karl Hein, if I'm, again, the theme with Line could lie to him and say, you know what, Karl Hein, you impressed me in pre-season. You're going to take Raya's spot. He could sit on the bench. But selfishly for Karl Hein, it's not going to help you. You need to return to Arsenal next summer with 20, 30 plus games, senior appearances under your belt. And then that's second choice goalie. Who the hell is the third? Yes, the third choice keeper is probably not going to be called upon. You could probably get away with having an under 21s keeper training with the first team playing for them, but it's probably not feasible. I'm not sure where we go from there, if I'm honest, man. Again, keep your thoughts coming, people. Let me share my screen so we can see exactly what's going on in the world of football where Arsenal's concerned. Where you look at our record sales, Emile Smith Rowe has obviously announced, well, it's been announced that he's left the club properly now. He becomes our 5th highest transfer sale ever, which shows you Arsenal need to do a bit better in terms of selling people. But yeah, man, he's 5th behind Cesc Fabregas, Alexis Sanchez, Nicolas Anelka, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Surely Balogun's got to be up there somewhere. 6th? I guess. But yeah, moving away from that, we've received a guaranteed 27 million in a fee, people, with payment terms a key factor. Apparently, Romano has said it's 7 million add-ons considered realistic, plus a sell-on clause also included of more than 10%. Once a Gooner, always a Gooner. We'll see each other again, Smith Rowe. This, if I had alcohol, I'd sip some, man, but this ain't the way it's meant to go, man. This ain't. Life is funny, but this ain't the way it was meant to end, man. And obviously, Arsenal have confirmed that Smith Rowe has left, people. I want to see exactly what Mikel Arteta and Edu have said, people. Edu has said, Emile is loved by all of us at the club. He's been with us for many years, and we are so proud that he has developed through our academy system into our first team. It has been a positive collaboration to find the right place for Emile, where he'll continue to grow and make his mark on the Premier League. We have completed an important and positive deal for everyone. So what does that tell you? That we want to find Smith Rowe the best place for him to develop and get as much out of his career as he wants. We thank Emile for everything he gave to Arsenal and wish him well in the next stage of his career. Mikel Arteta said Emile's commitment, attitude, and energy every day was first class, always stepping up when the team needed him. He came into the first team and was instrumental during a difficult moment for us. He created an important impression with his strong performances, making our supporters proud. I'm sad that Emile is leaving, but excited for him to take the new opportunity at this stage of his career when he needs to be starting matches and playing regularly. So that tells you the primary motivation. Emile is loved by everyone at the club and leaves us with our gratitude, absolutely respect, and best wishes. We all wish Emile and his family well at Fulham. Big up yourself, man. Big up yourself. And yeah, they've confirmed this signing, people. What number is he even wearing at Fulham? The man himself said, I'm finally here, so I'm happy for me and my family. It's a good moment. I'm really excited. I just wanted to get here as quickly as possible so I could get going with my new teammates. Listening to the project, speaking to the manager, and seeing what players we already have here, I think it's an exciting project for me and definitely, pardon me, the perfect step for my career going forward. Tony Khan spoke about him, and yeah, he's a fairly local boy from Fulham. He just turned 24 last Sunday as well. Sorry, folks, man. It's difficult. It's difficult, man. It's difficult. It's difficult. But we remain professional. From one Haylander who's left to another who could potentially be departing. Wait, why does my voice sound bare flat? Arsenal and Marseille remain locked in talks over a deal for Nketiah. The striker is a target for the French club who are in the market for a new 9, obviously after a former Gooner, Aubameyang, left Marseille and went to Saudi Arabia. We all know Nketiah has slipped down the pecking order. The Gunners are open to selling the striker this summer if the right offer comes along, with reports in France stating Marseille's preference is to take Eddie Nketiah on loan before making the deal permanent next summer. Unless it's an obligation to buy him permanently, forget about it. Either put up or shut up. But to be fair, if he goes on loan, scores a bit of goals, might be able to be sold, people. It's a tough sell, though. He's got 3 years left on his deal, and he apparently earns 100 grand a week. We all know Arsenal are now back in the United Kingdom after the tour of the US, so we'll have to see exactly what's going on in that regards. We all know the Emirates Cup is upon us next week, people, against Leverkusen and Lyon, and then after that is showtime against Wolves. It feels like the pre-season or the off-season has flown very quickly. And a lot of us sit here and say, oh, my God, I just can't wait till club football returns. Be careful what you wish for, because week in, week out, our emotions are going to all be all over the place. We all know David Raya's move's been made permanently for 27 million. We've also acquired Calafiori for 42 million. Allegedly, Arsenal are eyeing further additions and would like to sign a new midfielder and forward. Forward could be a striker. It could be an inside forward. They're interested in Real Sociedad's Mikel Merino, who was on their radar before he impressed during Spain's run to winning Euro 2024. Merino is in the final year of his contract and has so far been unwilling to pen an extension. There could be further departures from Arsenal before the transfer window shuts later this month. Kieran Tierney, who is injured, so I don't know how much that is a thing. Smash the like button if you haven't. Reece Nelson and Ramsdale could all go depending on what offers materialize for them in coming weeks, people. And this just continues talking about Marseille's pursuit of Eddie Nketiah. Apparently they're accelerating their talks to try and sign him from Arsenal, people. Apparently, Marseille's initial offer for the English striker is a paying loan, which would then include a mandatory purchase option at the end of the season worth 20 million, which equates to about 16 odd million pounds, which I'm not really for. Allegedly, he's attracting interest from Premier League clubs, but for all we have heard with Eddie Nketiah, there's been interest from Premier League clubs. Maybe Arsenal have had offers and it's not public knowledge, but to us, Marseille are the only people who have come through with something tangible. Everybody's interested. Who's put their money on the table? So at this moment in time, to us, that's all there is to consider. Apparently, reports that Arsenal want 50 million euros are not true. There's been some reports that by the Daily Mail as well that we're willing to settle on 25 to 30, which I can maneuver with that. Allegedly, 2 English clubs are keen on Eddie Nketiah. Now, it hasn't said it though, people. He's been linked with West Ham before, Crystal Palace, Wolves off the top of my head. Hasn't said. Apparently, people, Marseille understood to have offered a season-long loan that includes a purchase option of 20 million. Apparently, this is said, the previous report said 50 million is untrue. This is said 50 million is. Arsenal understood to have based this valuation on the fact that they received 40 million from French giants Marseille for Balogun last summer. And we all know, apparently, you know, Roberto De Zerbi is keen on him, really. Apparently, this says 30 million. I mean, you get 30 million for Eddie Nketiah. I'm with that, people. Arsenal value him at 30 odd million. Talks are continuing. Apparently, naturally, Marseille want to lower such people. So we'll see exactly what could be done in that regards. So we'll have to see what's going on in that regards. Moving away from that, this is all irrelevant for us. But, you know, this is a good article on The Athletic. It spoke about how, you know, our players were taking Ethan and Lewis Skelly in, and just a lot of bonding going on. And they had a lot of talks about Calafiori and whatnot. So if you've got The Athletic, take that in. Arsenal ready to break in to sign Victor Oshimen, according to reports in Italy. Lol. Anyways, we all know the Nigerian is expected to leave Napoli this summer amid significant interest from across the globe. Apparently, Arsenal are reportedly long-term admirers of Oshimen and could push to sign him ahead of fellow target Victor Gyökeres. PSG allegedly interested, but they're only willing to offer a fee of 90 million euros. What's that? Maybe 78 to 84 million pounds. I don't know. We'd have to check the exchange rate, people. So we'd have to see. And he's still linked with a swap deal. So there isn't anything tangible there, really. Arsenal and Chelsea giving Nico Williams opportunity. I mean, apparently, if he's decided to remain at Atletico Bilbao, I don't think Arsenal and Chelsea have anything. If he's got a release clause and you activate it, you can have talks, but the player's going to want to leave. And in reality, talking to his camp, unless they give, you know, positive signals that he will leave if we activate it, it's not going to happen. That's why for all the talks, nobody actually bidded, whether that's Arsenal, Chelsea or Man United, for Benjamin Sesko. So I think the headline sounds more attractive than what we actually just read there. We have been linked with Rabiot. It wouldn't be an Arsenal transfer window without Rabiot links. Allegedly, Arsenal, Real Madrid, but okay. Arsenal, Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid are all interested in Rabiot, who is a free agent after leaving Juventus, and he's still linked with Manchester United. Allegedly, according to reports in Italy, we're in pole position to sign Rabiot, people. Does anyone believe that? I don't, but I'll leave you lot to draw your own conclusions. Let me know. And again, Man United and Arsenal are still linked with Rabiot. At least we're getting thrown some new names. Romano has said on Merino, let me say that Arsenal are really closing in on the deal for Mikel Merino. The package is going to be something around 30 million euros. Everything is proceeding to the final stages. We'll understand the structure of the deal in the next days, but the agreement between Arsenal and Sociedad is really, really close, which is music to me and a lot of fans is. Again, that echoes the same thing. We've gone over the Marseille thing, but for what it's worth, Darmashef said the initial offer a few weeks ago was effectively laughed at by Arsenal. That offer had such a massive gap to Arsenal valuation. The information that I was given was that we were expecting Marseille to go back in, and they've done that. We think the offer that has gone in now is around 17 million. Now, that's still not maybe as much as Arsenal would want, but it's enough for them to at least continue the conversation. So the fact that the two clubs are still talking would imply there's a possibility that a deal could be done, which is music to a lot of people's ears. People from Arsenal's board and scouting department also believe that the signing of Merino is the perfect opportunity, says Fabrizio Romano. And again, we're still linked with Rabiot, which is a bit boring. Apparently, PSG are understood to be returning to the race for Julian Alvarez. So what would that mean for Oshimen? And Arsenal have also been linked with Julian Alvarez. I mean, Chelsea, Arsenal and PSG have all been linked with Alvarez, but is there any credibility in that? All three clubs are linked with bringing in a striker. So is it creative journalism? I'm not too sure, people. There's nothing there. Carl Heinz been linked with a loan move to Barnsley, by the way, folks. According to reports in Spain, Arteta has not only once again made Victor Gyökeres his top striker target, but the Gunners are said to have initiated contract talks with both the Sporting Lisbon star and his agent, allegedly. The report claims that Arsenal sporting director Edu has even managed to strike up a preliminary contract agreement between the 26-year-old and the club, and this now hinges on whether a deal can be completed with Sporting Lisbon. Apparently, the club's demands have fallen to 68 million, a much more manageable price tag. Fair enough. You know what? If you can get him for 68 million and you're that convinced, get it done tomorrow, people. We've been linked with Morgan Gibbs-White once again, as has Chelsea. I'm not too sure on the credibility of the 24-year-old being linked with Arsenal, but I'll leave you lot to draw your conclusions. Edu has said, of course, we want to win titles, but how are we going to bring it is more important to me. I want to win in the best possible way. I want people to look at us and say, I'm proud of you guys because you're winning it in the right way. Fair enough. In my position, what I feel really proud and I really feel is that we changed the perception. We changed people's vision when they see Arsenal Football Club. I think we've changed how they see us compared to the past. I think people see us as a competitive club again, but I think we'll only be looked at differently in recent years if we start winning silverware. Personally, no one can downplay our club. We all know about the jewels that Merino has won and why he would be attractive to Arsenal. And when you compare his stats to Declan Rice, if we had both of them, it would be kind of lit in that regards. Fofana, apparently, Yusuf Fofana has been linked with West Ham. I wonder if he'll be linked with Arsenal again. We have been linked with Bakayoko from PSV previously. Apparently, he doesn't want to sign for Brentford. He's got his sights on a club that plays in the Champions League. Arsenal have been linked with João Pedro, people. Arsenal allegedly are showing interest in Brighton forward João Pedro. This comes amid dwindling alternative targets such as Sesko, Nico Williams, and Eze, who are now either seem out of reach for the Premier League giants or have decided to stay at their clubs. Sources indicate that Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta and sporting director Edu Gaspar have had discussions about the signing of Neto Pedro, the 25-year-old, in relation to Nketiah. It looks like he's leaving. So do we really believe João Pedro rumors, people? To be fair, 20 goals across all comps while getting 3 assists. He does have versatility. I don't buy it, if I'm honest with you lot. Gary O'Neill has spoken in relation to Pedro Neto's future. Gary O'Neill, the Wolves boss, admits the club would not stand in Pedro Neto's way should a huge offer come in this summer. So we've heard that before. Hamstring injuries have plagued the 24-year-old. Apparently, their manager has said, I know how good he is. I know how well he would do at a big club. Obviously, I want our team here to be unbelievably successful, so I'm hoping he stays. There's nothing going on at this moment from anybody. He's in a good spot. I've spoken to him about how we're going to play and how it suits him and what a big part he'll play in it. But of course, we're all grown-ups. While you're having them conversations, if a massive bid comes from a top club, then nobody is going to stand in Pedro's way. I mean, I wouldn't describe Spurs as a top club, but they've been linked with him. Alvarez allegedly is in advanced negotiations to sign a 5-year deal at Atletico Madrid, people. And apparently, finally, in relation to Nico Williams, the doubt Nico Williams has is if this is the right time to make a move to a big club like Barcelona. Therefore, people in his closest circle have asked him to stay at Athletic Club for one more season and join Barcelona in 2025. So that puts to bed the Nico Williams stuff, if I'm honest. Too many players on high wages. I hear that, but we've already been through that once already, and now we're in the same position. If it wasn't for Arteta, he'd be cooked. Once our deadwood/overvalued players get sold, we will start seeing way better deals for our players since our core value is high. 30 to 35 million, Freddie, we take that instantly. Fair enough. Who is ESR in the title? Emile Smith Rowe, bro. Calafiori gives me Zlatan mentality vibes, seems a confident player. Calo and Merino are such unreal value deals in this PSR market. I hear that. DG, what do you think of Edu? I feel like Arteta has succeeded despite Edu. He can't sell players and is slow to buy them. I think everyone's got concerns. For Arteta, for as good as he is, can you win a Premier League title? Can we sign some attacking players? I don't think Edu can have all his talking points, but I feel it's difficult to critique Edu because you can't really critique a club's owners, but ultimately, if we're not winning stuff, it's indirectly on the owners. Whether Arteta wins trophies or not, you see it there. We don't know what deals Edu has tried to do or not done, bearing in mind it's a results-driven business. But I think that's harsh. Obviously, Arteta has done his parts, but we've got a lot better with managing wages. I do think every player Arteta's wanted, or the vast majority of them, whether Edu allegedly believed in them or not, we've got that done. We're dealing with the contract situation a lot better. So I can't really say he's succeeded despite Edu. I don't think that's fair, man. Robbie said in the Transfer Daily that the Bradker is an option for second. We are in trouble if that guy comes to our club as second choice. Smith Rowe wanted to leave. He could have stayed if he wanted. Arsenal would never push him out. I can't begrudge him for wanting to leave. He wants to go play football, man. I just want something around what we've got for Smith Rowe, Balogun, for Nketiah. Personally, think one of the main reasons we let Smith Rowe go is because we have young players like Ethan coming through and he takes up a spot in this place for them to grow. Fair enough. We only have 17 non-homegrown players in the squad. Also, think Ethan and Skelly might be included. Thoughts? I think we got to give them time. I think they'll play significant minutes at under 21s level, but they're doing all they can in training and what we're seeing in front of our own eyes. So that they're showing the gaffer that I know you're not keen on Hayland based on the amount of debuts given, but we could take a chance. Balogun got hyped up last summer as our biggest sell, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think biggest sell because I think people knew that was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, but definitely would have thought it would have been for more money than what it's been reported there. Would you take a punt on Makoko? He's being made expensible for Dortmund. The football manager guy in me wants to try it. So, yeah. Arteta, that's true. Arteta already tried rotating goalkeepers if it's not going to work anymore on Ramsdale. That's why you got to lie to him, bro. I'll say, do you take Ramsdale into him and say, listen, I've made a mistake, you know. David Raya ain't looking good, you know. First 2 games, he's going to start. Maybe even 3. Have we got 3 games in August? The minute he makes a mistake, you're in. Lie to him. Once it's done, but we move him, man. Smith Rowe leaving. Not going to lie. I hope he balls out in Fulham and fulfills his potential. Hopefully he can come back here. Forget about it. Ferguson for 50 million plus is still wild to me. Haven't seen enough. I agree. But if there's a deal to be done and we could get it, why not? Raya is getting exposed this season. He ain't levels. Harsh, man. Arteta is going to be looking for a 6th keeper next July. I mean, he does seem to love defenders and obviously goalies. You know what they say? Defense wins titles, goals win games. And I think we've got a title-winning defense or title-winning defensive options. We need to win some games that we've been pouring with some attacking guys, man. So we'll have to see how this develops. Shout out yourself, American Gunner. Lateness is greatness. This just in, Arsenal bidded £13 million for Anthony. I'll take your word for that, my guy. I'll definitely take your word for that. I'll take your word for that. So, yeah, man, it is what it is. Oh, I spelt my man's name wrong. Man said ERS. Yeah, it did. This is why you should always look what you're doing and shouldn't rush. Let's actually change the title there. Good looking out, guys. Good looking out, guys. You lot are like Declan Rice. Yeah, fair enough. My bad. I think I've seen this already. My bad. What other comments have I missed out? I don't think I have. I think I'm on job here. But yeah, man, we need to, you know, if we get 30 million Freddie Nketiah and the sell-on clause, I think that's good business. Nelson's a weird one because there were rumors that Brighton wanted to bid 20 to 30 million. Nelson, I'll be amazed if we, not because of ability, just because at the end of the day, like, you're on big wages. You've clearly made it clear that you want to leave. I don't want to be disrespectful to him because he's obviously a good player for us. But, you know, when everybody's fit, you haven't been in the match day squad. And while you're clearly liked by Arteta, you're just a body, really, literally just a body. 10, 15. But then again, I'm not saying these guys will be amazing and we'll sit there and think what if or what could have happened and anything of that ilk. But I think, you know, with more first team football, big up Amenya for the raid, by the way. And also big up Rickin for resubscribing. I think with consistent football, Smith Rowe and Nketiah and Nelson, they'll put a bit more respect on their name. And it feels like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but like, you're not little boys anymore. You're not children anymore. Like, on the scheme of it, you're at Arsenal, you're involved in the squad, but you all need to kind of be a bit selfish and get out what you want in your career. And obviously, it's not going to happen at this football club, man. Anthony to Arsenal, here we go. But I don't even know who the club actually likes as a striker that's available anymore. Tevin, no one knows, man. And it's not our job to know. Again, Arteta said the other day, we sit down in April or March and think about targets and what we want to do. So the club know exactly what they want to do. Whether they'll be spanner in the works, whether we'll be able to get everything done is another thing. And as I said, I personally, you know, I'm happy with Kai Havertz's form. But, you know, if Kai Havertz didn't start scoring goals, I think we would have probably been a lot more aggressive in terms of a striker. I think we're being very complacent in that regards if we are to assume certain things are going to continue. So, yeah, it is what it is, man. Rob Holding to Arsenal. Here we go. God forbid, because he can even buy a game for Crystal Palace. I don't want to be disrespectful, man. I don't want to be disrespectful to Rob Holding because he won an FA Cup. And as crap as he was, forgive me, you, Mertesacker, Monreal, you stood up tall at Wembley. But, yeah, you needed to go. Bye-bye, ESR, KT, Eddie Nketiah, Nelson, end of an era. I would say I understand it, but I'm obviously sad to see Smith Rowe go. I would have loved to have seen, while I can understand the way the system's moving, Tierney can't play it, but Tierney, be sad. It's sad for Aaron Ramsdale as well, just because of how the language, even the fact that Aaron Ramsdale's going to leave, the way the language has changed around him. He was someone that, as much as I get at Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, a lot of fans said, oh,
He's got back-to-back relegations, man. Why are you signing him?
It's fair to say he's done all right for the football club. And, you know, what was he in PFA Team of the Year? You know, last season we had a much better defense, but the season before that we made dramatic improvements, and Ramsdale was a key part of that. Just unfortunately, uncomfortable decisions have to be made, really and truly. DG, with the data by day, it looks like Partey is staying on the day. What's your midfield choice also if we sign Merino? I think purely because of availability, Merino will end up being, you know, overtaking Partey in the pecking order, just because I don't want to be harsh on Partey, but I think everybody, I don't want to say expect, but Partey getting injured, no one's going to bat an eyelid over that. And I do think with Partey, I don't think the club and Arteta, they're ever 100% convinced that he's able to stay fit. You know, he did play he showed he's an important player because the tail end of last season he played and all of that. But there was a point he's come back from injuries on the bench quite a lot, or even before that latest setback, he was on the bench before that and there was an issue. It doesn't seem like Merino, whatever, he struggles in that regard. So I think he'll end up being it. If everybody was fit and injuries are not a thing and whatever, then for me, I can't comment on a player I haven't seen play for Arsenal Football Club at this moment in time, much less been signed by the club. Partey on his day, Declan Rice, Odegaard, that's a very good trio in midfield. And again, Partey's today been linked with moves to Saudi, but he's always linked with moves to Saudi. And again, crucially, offers need to be put on, man. I'm not joking. Anthony might actually play in the Swedish First Division. That's good luck to him, man. Don't mean to sound like an unk, but how do you at someone on a YouTube comment? I think he type the @ sign and then the name. Havertz is the right profile up front. Look at his duel rate and his chances created. But you know what? How good is, what I always say is, how good is everyone at their worst? How effective is our striking options going to be when we're having a bad day? The same goes for the wingers. The same goes for the defenders and the midfielders, because it's illogical to expect us to be amazing for 38 games. Season starts in 2 weeks and no striker yet. Just going to have to get on with it, bro. It is what it is at this moment in time. I would love a striker, but I don't think there's an Arsenal fan who truly expects us to get one, man. I want to be wrong. I hope there's a surprise, but I'm just generally, expecting a mad word, because can you have expectations, really? But I expected a left back because we was linked with one. Got that. Expect a midfielder. Seems like Merino, on top of Arsenal just liking him, ticks the right boxes in terms of what he's probably going to get in wages and the transfer fee. We'll have to see how that develops, but that's one. Wide man, I do think there'll be some sort of a versatile attacker that comes in. Who that is, when that will be, how much, you're asking the wrong guy. Striker, I think the club will like it, but yeah, man, I hate the word profile. People don't even know what they're referring to with that, really, man, because no two players are alike, man, if I'm completely honest with you. So we'll have to see, people, man. Can you bag or not? That's the thing, you know. And I do think it's a two-way fold, because you can't just have a bagsman that can't do all the other facets of a striker. But at the same time, you know, we need someone that can score goals. And, you know, from what I've seen at Arsenal, if being a prolific striker was what got you, you know, first team football under Mikel Arteta, then Gabriel Jesus wouldn't have been signed. Kai Havertz wouldn't be playing up front. And, you know, I do think, unfortunately, the injury to Gabriel Jesus, you know, was a blessing in disguise, in the sense of Havertz went up front. Now, Arteta didn't do anything innovative. You know, Kai Havertz has played up front for Chelsea and scored a Champions League winning goal, but we all know he's a versatile player. But let's be honest, he tried to force him into that midfield role. It just didn't bang. I know he scored against Liverpool, but even a couple of days ago, but it didn't bang. He's not a I can't say you're not a midfielder because you played there for club and country, but you're not a midfielder. We will not talk about Kai Havertz, and I pray to be wrong one day. We're not going to talk about Kai Havertz playing in the middle of the park in the same way we do up front. So I do think Arteta may not even tried to be too smart, but he had to be humble enough and throw him up front. Havertz, that's your thing. But beyond that, we need goals, man. All we need is another attacker that can make the difference as a minimum, man. I'm low-key nervous about the Wolves game because the way they bopped United in the first game of the season was mad. It sounds cliche, but every game in the Premier League is difficult, innit? You have to stand up to be counted. There's no days off, really. So we're going to have to stand up to be counted. And hopefully, you know, your fears could, you know, be put to bed. I do have an admission to make, people. The first game of the season, Arsenal versus Wolves, I won't be doing a watch along. But where Aston Villa is concerned, the week after and every other game, we're there, people. So I'm just throwing that one out there, man. DG, buying Fabio stocks, think he should be sold/loaned. Hasn't showed anything pre-season. I don't think he'll go. I think if Smith Rowe stayed, then maybe he would have went out on loan. Is there a market for Fabio Vieira? You know, again, when we did a live show a few weeks ago, allegedly, and again, any journalist can say these things, but 90 Minutes said that we've rejected interest from Germany, Spain, actually England, and I think Saudi Arabia. There might have even been another country. So that's that. I do think Fabio will stay and be a body, but I need him to stand up and do something. I'm not saying you need to get 20 goals, 20 assists, but if we're sitting here and saying the same thing, like if we're doing this exact same stream right now and next year, a year from now, and we're talking about Fabio Vieira in the same vein, then I think it's about the next steps. But is there a market for Fabio Vieira? There seems to be a market for Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe couldn't buy a game. He still ended up being Fulham's record buy. Where's the offers for Fabio Vieira? So I'm not sure. I have a feeling the game against Leverkusen is going to be tackles on Xhaka for what he said. Bit harsh, man. DG said, I'm missing Carnival for that horseshit football. To be fair, Carnival's not on the 17th, man. Fabio is gone next summer if he doesn't step up this season. He needs to. And it's a bit of a double-edged sword because I think the main thing with him is stay fit, because it feels like he comes off the bench, he's encouraging, he gets a start, doesn't always grab his opportunity with the start, gets injured again, and we're speaking about the same thing. At the end of the day, no one's given a place in this team. Unless, well, some are, unless your name's Saliba, Gabriel, in my opinion, Benjamin White at this moment in time, Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, probably Kai Havertz owing to the lack of options. You've got to put up and shut up. And really, if we really would, you know, there's only a couple of names I said there. And I pray that there's a day where, as good as Saka is, you know, Saka has to look left and right or someone might play, and vice versa with everybody else, man. What injury did Fabio even get last year? Not a clue, but he missed a lot of football, man. It feels like such a long time ago where he had a positive impact against Man United, where he set up Jesus. Probably his best time last season, what would we say, people, is probably when he came off the bench in the draw against Fulham at the Emirates. I could be wrong. But yeah, man. That's what I'd say. Zinni and Vieira gone next season. I think Zinni's gone next season. He could even be gone this season. But again, is there a market for Zinchenko? We heard Newcastle and Bayern. It don't seem like there's anything. Where you look at Kivior, again, there's been no offers put on his table, and links and media and actually what's going on are different things. But it seems like there's more of a market for Kivior at this moment because you're being linked with AC, Inter, Juventus, so on and so forth. But at the same time, when you read some of the reports, it says they're only willing to take him on loan without an obligation and things of that ilk. So how far gone? What sort of market is this? So there's a lot to be done, man. You know, I'd say if you look at, I'd say the players that look like they could actually leave this football club in the next few weeks, Kivior potentially, Eddie obviously, Nelson the same. After that, depending on where, it could be Ramsdale. There's not really anyone else. I do think if the club were made offers for a Zinchenko, or Thomas Partey, Gabriel Jesus, they'd really consider them. But, you know, as we get closer to the start of the season, you're kind of going to have to rethink everything. We've got to start strong, man. Can't make the same mistakes as last season. The first 5 games, boy, we ain't got time, man. DG, what's your Arsenal kit in the new Adidas era? Do you mean the favorite Arsenal kit, or are you talking about the one I've got on? Not sure on the question. What do you mean? If you're talking about this, I don't know what year this would be. This would be the year. I'm sure this is the season we signed Lokonga. It's crazy. I remember that, innit? And I'm not going to lie. When I look at this kit, I see Smith Rowe, but I see Pablo Mari getting bullied against Lukaku. If you're asking my favorite kit during the Emirates era, I mean the Adidas era. Favorite, yeah. Favorite. You know what? I ain't got it, and it's not out yet. But it would be our third. It would be our third shirt, innit? The third shirt that could be coming out on the 12th of August or next week or whenever it is. I think that could be a contender. Actual kits I've got and seen with my own eyes. I do like the collar, the home kit, the one we had with the collar. I think Jesus' first year. Favorite, it's got to be the black one, innit? It's got to be the black away. It's got to be the black and gold one, man. It's an easy one. It's cheating it, and it's not exactly a kit, but like the carnival inspired training kit thing we had, I would say that's up there. But I'd say the black away kit from the season before last, like American Gunner said there. I'd rather keep Kivior over Tommy. Availability is an important ability. Not if you're shit. I think Tomiyasu could end up getting sold in the next 2 years because of that. And I just think, you know, we're probably hoping that we could maybe scout someone, or, you know, if you look at Lewis Skelly, obviously if he could play inverted left back, I guess you could play inverted right back because he is right footed. But, you know, I think, you know, if you could do something like that, I think injuries are a thing, but I'm keeping Tomiyasu over Kivior. really don't rate Kivior, if I'm honest. And I mean that in the most respectful way, really. I think some of our fans have been a bit disrespectful. I think, you know, regardless of if you're a left back or not, you shouldn't get caught flat-footed a lot of the time. You should be aware of your shoulders and whatnot. I think people spoke about, you know, him playing in midfield a lot when he was at Spezia. Can't really see any confidence on the ball in that regards. You're not getting anywhere near Gabriel. And I don't know Kivior as a person. I don't want to be disrespectful, but you don't really have personality from what I'm seeing on the football pitch. I think Gabriel's got that. I think Tommy's very humble, but I think Tommy's got that. I think Timber's got that. I think Benjamin White's got that. Saliba's got that. I'm not saying you need to be arrogant. And I defo rather Kivior defensively than Zinchenko, even though it depends, because Zinchenko's got a lot more confidence than him. Zinchenko is horrible defensively, but he shows bollocks to want to get on the ball, and he was involved in the one goal we scored against Liverpool. I don't see what is Kivior's outstanding attribute. I'm not hating on the guy. I'm only talking about what I see. You know, you could sell both, you could keep both. It depends what you want. You know, if you play Kivior at left, if you play him at centre half, you know he's going to be in trouble. If you play him at left back, you know he's going to be in trouble, but you know he's going to be a bit switched on defensively. But then you're going to rely a bit more on Benjamin White. With Zinchenko, it's an accident waiting to happen, and you just have to pray. It's dumb because football, you have to score goals, but you're genuinely praying that you just outscore the opposition. Anything, and the wickedest thing is, there's been times where Zinchenko has shown consistency defensively. He's improved defensively, but he's never going to be a good defender. He should be of a certain standard, because I know he didn't come through as a fullback, but he's played a number of games there. He's been part of a couple title winning squads in that regards. And there's been times where he's played well defensively, but you know, how many times are we going to play Liverpool and he's going to get savaged? I think people are scapegoating him against Aston Villa personally in the last season, but he did make L's there. The corner he gave away against Fulham, and for what it's worth, players can make mistakes. But yeah, man, Calafiori, I forgot. Forgive me if I didn't, but I said we're forgetting someone. Calafiori looks like he's got that. I don't think Kivior believes in himself, man. I think you need personality. You look at the Invincibles. You look at what we've got now. We had personalities. You look at the Man United sides. You look at the City side. You look at the Liverpool side. Personality. You know, that doesn't mean just scream. And I think this is mainly an English thing. You know, that doesn't mean just screaming and effing and blinding and carrying on and whatever. But personally, I don't think Kivior believes in himself. And I understand it. It's got to be difficult when you know you're at the bottom of the pecking order. You know you're not going to get a real run in the team. You know, and when he did, he looked a lot more confident. I don't blame him for being unsure of yourself, but I don't really necessarily think the world of you as a centre-half anyways. Left back, it's a myth, especially in the present day. I'm on him staying and being part of the squad. He probably wouldn't get too much football, but the luxury to have a body there, fair enough. Zinni can go as well. But one thing I'll give Zinni, if I'm Mikel Arteta, I know Zinni's going to make mistakes, and I'm exaggerating. Zinni might cost me a goal, but he might help me create too. But they both are not really, unless something dramatically happens where Zinchenko really bucks up his ideas defensively, because we all saw the interviews with Rio Ferdinand and all that crap, or Kivior, then it's a myth, really. I just think with Zinchenko, you're just unaware for some. I know you're not a natural defender, but you're just unaware. At times, it feels like you're watching the games like us. Like even Salah's goal the other day, it's easier said than done. You know, the time he's clocked, and he's not alone, because Kivior, Gabriel, everybody's at sixes and sevens. But at least follow the runner. At least it's easier said than done. At least make it difficult for Salah to do what he's doing, in which you still wouldn't have been able to stop him, but at least look like you know what needs to happen. Maybe it's because Salah ain't got the afro again, but yeah, would you take Chiesa? I love the player, but we don't need any more sick notes, man. Unless you want to be friends, unfortunately, with Tomiyasu Tini, Thomas Partey, and but not even Smith Rowe anymore, really. And the Arsenal physio in the physio room is a myth. The player, yeah, all the other variables, myth. Same, I don't see much in Kivior. At least Zinni can offer a lot in defense. And I'm not even a fan of playing Zinchenko as an 8 or in the 10. And you know what? Zinni's a man where I look at, you got 20 appearances, maybe 10 starts in all comps. Extreme squad player. You're streaming the Community Shield. When is the Community Shield? The English Super Cup, as we refer to it. When is that? It's not this weekend, is it? It can't be. 10th of August. When's that? That's got to be next week. Yeah. What else we got to do? Yeah, we'll watch that. Manchester Derby, man. I mean, I won't quite call it revenge for City in the FA Cup against United, but yeah, it's football season, isn't it? We're back now, man. We're back. Not that we've gone away, because we've watched the Euros and all these things together. Dominating possession would allow Zini to be less pressured in defense, but teams have identified Zini as a weak point. It's true, but it's a trade-off really, because, you know, Zini's going to run into midfield, and teams know, realistically, respectfully to Zinchenko, if you've got, like, obviously Zinchenko, if we name our strongest 11 now, whether you've got Calafiori, Timber, Tomiyasu, whatever you lot want to do, Zini's not going to be, definitely not in your strongest midfield, I reckon, and probably not at left back. But let's just assume Zinchenko is the best left back at the football club and all the other 10 players are out there, right? You look through that squad. I'm not saying the players haven't got weaknesses and you're not targeting other players, but you're not going to... Benjamin White's not a victim. Saliba and Gabriel not victims. Odegaard, Declan Rice, Partey, or whoever's going to play, Saka, Martinelli, Kai Havertz, they're not victims, really. You might be able to exploit certain mannerisms, but they're not victims. Zinchenko, you know, he don't think like a defender for one, so he's not going to look over his shoulder. Plus, you know, he's doing that inverted stuff, so he's going to leave space. That's the area you're going to target, and Salah is Salah. I cannot get at a player for getting savaged by Mohamed Salah. It is what it is. He'll do that week in, week out for Liverpool. But it's every time. It's not respectfully to the other players. Any half-decent inside forward that wants to take on their man or exploit that space, Zinchenko is cash money. And I understand why people have had it with Zini. Zini played in Odegaard's position once last season. And I would love to, I can never, but I'd love to ask Mikel Arteta and smash the like button if you haven't and subscribe, people. I'd love to ask Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta, why don't either of you, or when you was in Pep's case, when he was there, and so far with Zinchenko for the couple of years he's been, why hasn't he organically started in central midfield? I think I know the reasons, because I think if you're shaky at left back, you're going to be shaky in the middle of the park. You're not the tallest and the biggest athlete. Arteta's looked to have added that, and you're not switched on. You know, winning the ball back as soon as we lose it is a big thing for Mikel Arteta. I would say the one thing I think with Zinchenko, and indirectly he goes to sleep, is I think he's very good at getting back into a position, very good at getting back into a back four, very good at resetting when we've lost the ball. But it's almost like he thinks that's the minimum. I don't need to do anything. Now, he doesn't think like a defender, and he didn't come up as a defender, so I get it. But then you've played however many times for Arsenal at left back. You've played however many times for City at left back in some high pressure, big games. I'm sure he played in the Champions League final. You should kind of think. At the moment, Zini is lower than Fabio on the totem pole for me. I hear that, but like Fabio ain't brought nothing to the table. Xhaka was great help to Zini in his first season. That's true. And hopefully this year, with potentially Moreno's addition, Calafiori, Timber being fit, you know, we'll see more stability on that left-hand side, because the season before last was the first year that when Martinelli was scoring all those goals, and Zinchenko in his first season, as you said, and Xhaka was doing his thing. That was the first year we looked balanced on the left, on the right. We've gone back to being lopsided. Of course, we've scored goals from the left. Like, the only good thing we did against Liverpool is score. It came from the left. But we know if our right-hand side, our strongest right-hand side, if Benjamin White, Saka, indirectly Odegaard, maybe even Declan Rice now if you sign Merino, but if whoever's on the right-hand side, if they're having an off day or they're not on it, it's already difficult winning a Premier League game or a football game. It's made 10 times harder. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. And I like the fact that Zini takes risks. But again, as I said earlier, the pros to Zinchenko's game, especially as we get more all-rounded as a team, are not outweighed by the cons. There's like you know Zini will make a mistake, but if he's a man that will set up a goal any given time, like if Zinchenko was like Trent Alexander-Arnold, we'd be saying, all right, cool, you know what, you're going to be shaky defensively, but we know what you bring. He's not that. He's of the same kind of school of thought, but he's not that to that kind of level. So, everything Zini does well is almost always in the middle of the park, so can't help but think he'd be a decent left 8 in certain situations against peculiar teams. If the sun's shining at the Emirates and the team, you know, it's damage limitation, they're just sitting in 2 banks of 4, low block, not really trying to get at us, and you've obviously got Declan Rice and you know, the 2 big boy centre-halves as well as Benjamin White there, then you can get away with Zini. In an even footballing game, I think it's suicidal, and I'm being harsh because there's been plenty of games Zinchenko has done very well in, which you would think he'd make mistakes. Fans overrating Kivior last season for the bare minimum. Bro, it's hard. It's true. Why Kivior rejected Bologna is crazy. They're in the champs as well. I hear that, but at the same time, if a man don't want to go for whatever reason, he doesn't want to go. And while no offers have been made, and clubs will always say everything and then leave you alone, because how many times do we hear a player is waiting on a move to a club and it doesn't happen? Respectfully to Bologna, because you're right, they are in the Champions League and he could put a bit more respect on his name. For argument's sake, if Inter, AC, Juventus, where you'd reunite with Motta, if they're saying we're going to come get you in the summer, promises are comfort to a fool, words are cheap in business. But if they're genuinely saying that they're going to do that, I can understand Kivior saying, you know what, I'm not going Bologna. Or maybe Kivior. And if he's got this mentality, big him up. Listen, for whatever reason, I played against Bayern Munich. I played against City. I got a regular run in the side at some point before Tomiyasu took my spot. I don't care about California. I don't care about Timber. I don't care about this guy. I don't even care about Gabriel. I'm trying to take someone's spot. I hear that, Kivior. But it's MF. Dominating possession will allow Zini to be less pressured in defence. Yeah, but in football in this day and age, the minute you lose the ball, boy, it's peak. Zini's lack of awareness, regardless where he plays, kills teammates. Free roaming 10 would be a position I think he could perform in. I think he'd have to drop a level, respectfully. You couldn't play for top 6 side with that, man. It's madness, madness. But it is what it is. The team's evolved, man. I'll never disrespect Zini because you know, well, I don't think you're good enough anymore. But when you came in, you did your thing. Unfortunately, like we've seen with Tierney, like we're seeing with Zinchenko, like we've seen with many a player, time waits for no one. And the better we get, not everyone can be on this train of the destination we're trying to get to, winning prems and champs and significant silverware. So we'll have to see. On that note, though, people, I'm going to love and leave you lot. It's been a fantastic hour and a bit. I'm off to go edit some videos for you lot. Big up you lot. If you haven't subscribed, smash the like button or commented. Make sure you're doing such. Check out the description and make sure you lot have voted for me, people. We have until the 5th of August. Appreciative to you lot tuned in. Any other news and talking points that are worthy, you know, vids will come out and live streams and things of that ilk. So yeah, happy new month as well, people. You lot stay safe, stay blessed. In honor of this Zinchenko segment.
Against this right back, Charlie, definitely.
Always just like, I think